Our guest on This is America and the World is Kåre R. He's ambassador from the Kingdom of Norway to the United States. The ambassador formerly served as political director for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ambassador from Norway to the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for coming along, and nice to talk with you.
Great to be here, Dennis. Thank you very much for inviting me.
When we talk about the Scandinavian countries, probably Americans put them all together. How does Norway, what's so unique about Norway? Tell us.
First of all, I would say that we have a lot of things in common with the Scandinavian countries. Okay. History, culture, political system, the social welfare model, I would say. But if there is one particular issue which separates or is different from Norway and the other Scandinavian countries is that Norway is an energy producing country and that we are exporting oil and gas to the world market. So there is the only country among the Nordic one having this energy situation.
So gas and oil, a huge piece of the GDP, right?
Indeed, it is. And if I tell you that Norway is the second largest gas exporter globally, and we are probably number 12 when it comes to export of oil.
Whoa. The country has a reputation for being peaceful and stable, and by every yardstick, human rights, democratic. How did all that happen without us knowing about it?
That I don't know. But you have to pay more attention to Norway then. Huh?
Yes, absolutely. That's why we're here. Yeah.
But I think that one of the reasons is that since the Second World War,
yes.
There has been a national consensus, I would say, among political parties and the society on how to build and develop Norway. And on all these indicators which you referred to, we have a high score due to that political consensus. And then we are a rich country. And I mean, that's part of the explanation too.
High standard of living, huh? And people there are pretty comfortable, aren't they? Happy and peaceful. And behind the scenes, Norway plays a role in keeping the peace around the world, doesn't it? It has a reputation for that?
We try as much as we can. But let me, on your first question about happiness, tell you that the United Nations, they have having an index on the happiest countries in the world. And the first place, that is Denmark, and second one is Norway. So Norway, the Norwegians, they are happy, but we also want to beat the Danes.
Well, then let me ask this question, because and I ask it in a respectful manner. What is in the water that is making these countries so happy? What do you think? What can we learn from you?
I think that first of all, it's a prosperous country. It's a stable country. It's mainly a political understanding of the way forward. So we do not have controversies, and it's a peaceful, as you said, it's a peaceful nation. So all sort of the context, politically, economically, and socially, have the sort of the elements in providing a positive development in Norway when it comes to the economy and the development of the social welfare state.
Well, and I want to put the ambassador on the spot here, but when you look at America and the gridlock that we have in Washington and our political, we're in the middle of a political season coming up on a big vote and things like that, this country must come across to you as very adversarial, huh? As opposed to consensus in your country.
It's consensus based in Norway, as I told you, but also when I'm looking at the United States, from my perspective as the Norwegian ambassador, I mean, this country has also great values. And there is sort of as I see it, it's a strong sort of political commitment to those values. So I'm not sure what you could be learning from Norway, but I'm sure that Norway can learn still a lot from the United States.
What's the population of the country?
5 million.
5 million, and capital is?
That's Oslo.
Oslo.
Yeah, it's around 1 million.
1 million people. And are there kind of national characteristics that hold everybody together? What would you say they would be? I mean, if you took a whole group of Norwegians and said, okay, common characteristics, what would they be?
They will probably all tell you that they want to go either to the mountain or to the forest, and that they would like to be skiing. So it's the Norwegian population, the Norwegian citizens. We really like to have activities in the nature.
In outdoors?
Yeah, outdoors, I mean,
so
outdoors.
They are.
Yeah.
How about the people who are living in, say, Oslo, in the urban areas? Do they also kind of want to go out and be in the mountains and be in the nature?
They do. And you don't know, but I'm telling you, from the center, downtown Oslo,
yes,
to the forest, that's probably 20 minutes by the metro. And then you can put on your skis. Sometimes during the wintertime, you can even put on your skis downtown and be skiing to the forest.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, no, really.
Is it cold there?
I think I lived here. I stayed in Washington last winter. I think it was much colder here than in Norway. But there is also a saying in Norway that there is never bad weather, but it's bad clothes.
Bad what?
Clothes.
Oh, bad clothes. Coats.
Yeah, coats. No, not coats. Clothes. So you need to dress properly when the weather is bad.
Oh, so it's up to the person, right?
Of course.
There's a very famous painting called Scream.
Yeah. By Edvard Munch.
Yes. That's not how you pronounce his name?
Edvard Munch.
Munch.
Yeah.
That shows kind of the anxiety of the world. That doesn't sound like Norway at all. Sounds like people are doing pretty good there, huh?
But sometimes I'm telling you that you can have that feeling about that scream,
yes.
but as an individual person, but not as the nation.
Okay. Let's hold on that note. For the folks at home, if you're just joining us, talking with the ambassador from Norway, the Kingdom of Norway, right? To the United States here. And let me take is it Ambassador, is it Kåre?
Kåre.
And the last name is pronounced?
Os.
Os. Kåre Os.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you have it.
Sit tight. We'll be back on the other side. This is America and the World. This is America and the World is brought to you by the National Education Association, the U.S.-China Education Trust, and F.Y. Chang Foundation, guided by Ambassador Julia Chang Block, President. The League of Arab States, representing 350 million people in 22 member countries. ANA, Japan's largest airline with an extensive network throughout Asia. Japan, history, hospitality, and advanced technology. Sharing tomorrow. The Petroleum Group, expertise with integrity in the fields of oil and gas, exploration and production, energy, and infrastructure. The Republic of Kazakhstan, a rich history and a future of development and growth. The Rotendaro Family Trust. The Embassy Series, uniting people through musical diplomacy, presenting international artists in diplomatic settings. And Ventana Productions, television facilities, editing, and distribution services. Mr. Ambassador, with such a successful and happy country, what are the challenges that Norway faces at home?
I think, and in my opinion, the challenges we face is really to sustain the achievements which we have already got on the economy, on unemployment. There's very low unemployment in Norway, and the economic growth. And then we all know that the energy area, the oil and gas, will in the future be reduced. So we have to find alternatives to that income or those revenues. So I would say that is really the challenges we face.
How about foreign policy? What would you say is the key issues of foreign policy for the government?
Very important is the Arctic.
The Arctic.
That's one important topic. I would say that it's probably the most important topic for the Norwegian government. And
Why
Norway.
Is that so?
First of all, because Norway is an Arctic country, and I can tell you that 10% of the Norwegian population, they live north of the polar circle. 1/3 of the Norwegian territory, land territory, is north of the polar circle.
Oh, okay, I see. Yes.
80% of our ocean is in the Arctic. So what I'm telling you is that it's not just that Arctic is important, but Norway is an Arctic country, and that is also why we want to address the challenges and the opportunities in the Arctic.
So what would the challenges and the opportunities be?
I would say that one is climate, and what we are...
Climate change?
Climate change. But it also opens up opportunities. When the ice is melting, the glaciers are melting, but particularly the ice, we now have the possibilities, and it's already existing, that you can have maritime transport from Europe, for example, from Rotterdam to Japan, going the northeast route, and not taking the sort of the transport along the European coast into the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal. That reduces the time for transport, maritime transport, by 40%.
Whoa!
So these are great opportunities for the maritime sector.
So I've never heard this before, but you're saying that there is a plus to this climate change and the global warming.
It's obviously a plus.
And it could be in the area of trade and on a new trade route. Huh?
A new trade route, yeah. And it has already started. It has already started. So last year, I think it was 70 vessels who took that route from Europe to Asia.
So how does it show itself in the climate change policy of Norway? How does that make itself known?
What we really want to draw attention to is that climate change, first of all, in Norway, we are sure that the climate change is scientifically proven. It's real. It's real. It's not a joke, and it's not a sort of a hypothesis. It's real. And then we see in the Arctic that, or to say it in another word, where the changes are, you see them, the climate change, where you see them at first is that's in the Arctic. So the global sort of climate change, you can witness those in the Arctic first.
So if we were on some kind of an expedition, some kind of a ship, and you could point to where these huge glaciers were, is that the right word I'm using? Maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and you photographed them then and you photographed them now. The evidence is real, huh?
The evidence is real, and if you see the glaciers and you see the ice, you can, from year to year, you can see it being decreasing.
So you're coming from this country. What do you think of the people who say it's not real? What do you say to them, or what do you think about them when people say, "Oh, global warming is not real, climate change is not real," and the two are synonymous, really, huh?
What we try, and me as an ambassador and the embassy here in Washington, D.C., we really try to explain Norway's position on climate change. So every year we have what we call a congressional visit to the Arctic, and where we bring staffers, but also members of Congress, to Svalbard, the Spitsbergen archipelago, and they can themselves witness the changes. People have to believe and think what they would like to think, and what they we can't change person's opinions, but the fact that we take them to the Arctic and show them the evidences, I think that's important, and we will continue to engage on that.
Do you change some minds?
I think so. I think so. What I have seen, and I have been working with the Arctic issues for many years, there has been an increased awareness of the Arctic, but I also think it's been an increased awareness about climate change, also here in Washington, D.C. and in the United States.
A small piece of Norway touches on Russia, doesn't it?
Yeah, we are neighbor with Russia.
Yeah. A small pice, right
small
at the
piece,
top.
I think it's 27 kilometers.
27 kilometers.
So that is, let's see, that's...
about 30 miles. No, 10 miles.
No, 10 miles. 10 miles. 10 to 15 hours.
Okay, so has the whole Ukraine business had an effect on the relationship between Russia and Norway?
First of all, I would say that the annexation of Crimea is, of course, totally unacceptable to Norway and the international community. And that is why we have, like other countries, imposed sanctions on Russia. And we will continue to stand by with the international community, being that Europe or the United States. When on your question on our relations with Russia, we still see a need to maintain some of our cooperation with Russia.
Sure.
For example, when it comes to search and rescue in the Barents Sea, close to Svalbard, when it comes to managing of the stocks, fish stocks in the Barents Sea. And then we have a huge people-to-people cooperation between the northern parts of Norway and the Murmansk area, the Murmansk region, and that we very much would like to see continuing. But we have postponed for the time being, for example, our military cooperation, like all NATO countries have been doing, and we will stick with that policy.
There's a little bit of a box, however, I think I see, whereas the United States can be more aggressive in its sanctions against Russia, where some of the European countries have to be tread a little bit more carefully because Russia would be a trading partner as well, huh? So sometimes the European countries are not as pushing those sanctions forward. Huh?
This is the first time I think I have to disagree with you, Dennis. And
do you?
Yeah, I think so. Because what we have seen is really that Europe and the United States stand together in their policy.
I'll stand corrected if you say so.
In its policies and the relations with Russia. And the sanctions, they are the same, being imposed by Europe and being imposed by the United States.
Okay.
So I think this idea that we are not standing together and that the transatlantic links have been weakened due to this, I don't.
Am I the only one that's thinking that, though?
I have heard that comment.
Oh, you have heard that
I have heard it
from
comment,
other people.
but I have to correct it with the people I talk to.
I see. What do you think of Putin?
What I think about Putin?
Yeah.
I think that he's not behaving as he should in accordance with international standards. And I mean, for the first time, Russia has been changing borders in Europe. And as I said, that is totally unacceptable. And the activities in the eastern part of Europe, of Ukraine, is also totally unacceptable. But we haven't been telling him that. I mean, the Norwegian government has been firm on this.
I read an article recently about some, this is more Sweden than it is Norway, some submarine or something that's fishing around in the area. Does that have credibility? Does that have credence? Is there some fear that Russia is sneaking around there?
I can't comment on what on that particular issue. But I think it's important, and that has also been the position of NATO, that NATO countries, NATO allies, the United States included, we really have to have the right measures if there is any other actions by Russia towards any of the NATO allies. And we are doing that, and we have, I would say, a united NATO behind that policy.
Are we in kind of a Cold War?
We're not in a Cold War, but it's not the same as the Cold War, but I think we are in a new situation than the one we had after the Cold War, based on cooperation, and where we brought not Europe and Russia closer to each other, but that where we had agreements on how to cooperate together. And that has been changed with the present situation.
Yeah. How about the relationship between Norway and the United States? What's at stake there? What are the ties that bind?
It's history, it's culture, it's the Norwegian American communities and societies in the United States.
Do we have a lot of Norwegian Americans?
Let me tell you that there are more Norwegian Americans in the United States than there are Norwegians in Norway.
Is that true?
That's true.
Where are they? Where are they? Where are big pockets of
They are in the Midwest, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, sure.
800,000 approximately with Norwegian American background.
Yeah.
North Dakota, I've heard figures saying that 1/3 of the population are Norwegian Americans.
Wow.
And then we have not the same numbers, but a huge number also in Washington State. And then we have but those are the Norwegian coming immigrating to the United States in the 18th century, and their sort of sons and grandchildren and all that.
There was a huge migration from Norway to the United States back in the 1800s, was it?
1800s.
What triggered that?
Poverty in Norway.
Poverty?
Very bad harvesting.
Isn't it amazing how that was then, and now how successful Norway is today, huh?
But let me comment on that migration, because
Please.
Ireland and Norway
Yes.
are the two countries with the biggest migration to the United States compared to the population. So it was a huge amount of Norwegian.
And in Ireland it was poverty as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And famine.
Yeah, and famine.
And famine as well.
Yeah. So, but as you referred to Norway now, I would say that has developed after the Second World War. Part of that was, of course, the Marshall Plan.
Yes.
Which, I mean, the Americans helped us as they helped the other European nations. But then part of the answer is also that we have high education. We are integrating women in the workforce. And
boy, you folks are way ahead on all gender issues and same-sex marriage and women's rights and human rights and gay and lesbian. But what's driving that? What's making that? Human rights is like way at the forefront of everything that Norway does, isn't it? Is that consensus thing again?
It's the consensus thing again.
Yeah.
And we see human rights, defending human rights, and as an important element in our foreign policy. It's important. I mean, it's important to protect human rights, being that for children, for women, for political prisoners, for bad behavior on people, opposition to a government. So we are working on that, and as you said also, we are working on the agenda related to same marriage and between the sexes, and so this is an important element of Norwegian foreign policy, and it has been for a long time, and it will continue to be.
See, I think there's a lot that we can learn from your country. I think that it really is so admirable that you play such a role.
Thank you.
You have, so you mentioned trade as bringing the United States together, the number of people that are here. Are there security issues that bind us as well?
We are both founding members of NATO.
Yes. Yeah. So you mentioned that.
The United States is our closest ally, definitely. It's no doubt about that. We want to strengthen that partnership and even further. And I think that we have the same understanding of the security challenges. And let me also tell you, we have been standing shoulder to shoulder in Afghanistan, and we have been doing that on the Balkans.
You were involved, weren't you?
Yeah,
as ambassador?
I was the ambassador to Afghanistan from 2010 to 2012.
How do you see that part of the world? Now we've got a new government in there. They've got a couple of people that are sharing power. How do you see what's going to happen in that part of the world?
I would say that the fact that they got a new government, a peaceful transition, very, very important. Very, very important. And now it's important to preserve the achievements the Afghans have got, but also being sort of assisted by the international community. The fact, for example, that during the Taliban, very few children, and particularly girls, went to school.
Yes.
You know now, 8 million Afghan children go to school, and a majority of them are girls. That's an achievement.
So you're saying there's hope there, huh?
It's hope there. Yeah.
Wow. We're coming to the end of our time, and I do want to ask you this one question, because I noticed in some research that you folks in Norway have stepped up to fight the Ebola and making contributions to that international effort. It's incredibly serious, but it is also somewhat, there's a hysteria in the United States that needs to be tempered down a bit. Would you say that that's true?
I think that I mean, there are many challenges also related to health globally. The Ebola is definitely something which we together need to handle. I mean, not just the United States and Norway, but the international community.
Sure.
We have been contributing financially to do that.
Yes.
We are also now identifying health personnel to go to West Africa to assist. And we also have some sort of transport plane in order to do what we can. So that's, I mean, that's, we need to address it, and I think it's being addressed. And then your question about hysteria, it might be the case, but I think that the more we learn and the more we sort of bring information to the public, being that the American public or the Norwegian public, I think that's good. That's good for the case.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for the education about your country, and it was a pleasure to do the research to learn as to how far out front you are and what a sensational country it is. So congratulations.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you so much for the education.
Thank you very much. Thanks to you.
Thank you. For information about This Is America and the World, and to watch all of our programs, visit our website, thisisamerica.net, and look for us on Facebook and Twitter. This Is America and the World is brought to you by the National Education Association, the U.S.-China Education Trust, and F.Y. Chang Foundation, guided by Ambassador Julia Chang Block, President. The League of Arab States, representing 350 million people in 22 member countries. ANA, Japan's largest airline with an extensive network throughout Asia. Japan, history, hospitality, and advanced technology. Sharing tomorrow. The Petrolin Group, expertise with integrity in the fields of oil and gas, exploration and production, energy, and infrastructure. The Republic of Kazakhstan, a rich history and a future of development and growth. The Rotendaro Family Trust. The Embassy Series, uniting people through musical diplomacy, presenting international artists in diplomatic settings. And Ventana Productions, television facilities, editing, and distribution services.